Good evening, members, officers, visitors and members of the public. I'm Councillor Mike Baldock and I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. The meeting will be recorded and proceedings will be conducted in accordance with the Council's constitution, including procedural rules which are available on the Council's website. Item 1, emergency evacuation procedure. There is no planned evacuation drill this evening, and accordingly, if the alarm sounds, it is to be treated as a genuine need to evacuate. There are emergency exits over there and opposite the lifts where you came in. On exiting, you will be directed to the assembly point, and it is important that you remain there and do not return to the building until I have announced that it is safe to do so. If anyone present will need assistance in evacuating, could you please inform me now so that we can make necessary arrangements to assist you? I was waiting for someone to do that one day. Right, members must consider each application and everything that is said in the meeting concerning the application and make their decision based solely on their planning judgment of the information available to them. Following a decision by members, delegated authority is given to the planning officer to issue a decision notice. Planning permission is not granted or refused until the issue of that decision notice. Any member of the council who is not a member of a planning committee may attend as a visiting member and may speak having given prior notification. Such visiting members may of course include ward members, and whilst visiting members can speak on an application, they are not permitted to vote. Any member acting as a substitute on the planning committee must have undertaken appropriate training before doing so. Members must remain in the meeting for the whole time that each item is being debated and should not vote on the item unless they have done so. I would now like to welcome our public speaker and remind you that you will have 3 minutes to speak and an audible warning of time will be given when there are 30 seconds remaining. If a meeting is deferred to conduct a site meeting, you may speak both at this meeting and at the site meeting, but there will be no further opportunity to speak on the matter when it comes back to the planning committee. Right, item 2, apologies for absence and substitutes.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Julian Speed, Councillor Elliot Jays, whose substitute is Councillor Derek Carnell, Councillor Claire Martin, Councillor Mike Henderson, whose substitute is Councillor Ben J. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, minutes. To approve the minutes of the 8th of February. That was the last planning committee, I think. Are we okay with those? Do I need a named person? No. Are we all agreed? Lovely. Start signing them. Ought to remember the date. Right, the minutes of the extraordinary planning committee meeting on the 28th of February. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Chairman. For clarity and accuracy, page 475, items 6, 9, 8. Previous should be current board member.
He is a board member at Kent Fire and Rescue Service.
He is. And there are, again, it's difficult, Mr. Chairman, because these are minutes of the meeting, and for anybody that reads these minutes, there is a lack of accuracy. And I know that's not a specific item for this, but I'm going to raise them anyway. Page 476, the fourth one from the bottom, it says, disappointed that the Health and Safety Executive has not responded to the consultation. That is factually incorrect. They did respond. I am concerned, again, and we won't go into the decision, Chairman, I know you weren't here, but on 477, the first...
Sorry, 477.
Page 477.
Oh, right, yep.
Top of the shop. We've made, I know these are minutes, but we've made a statement here, and it says, Health and Safety Executive had the technical ability to respond to the application. It was negligent. That will come back and haunt us, Mr. Chairman. just for the record, and I want that recorded, please. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, these are just a record of what members said and the points that they raised, rather than necessarily statements of factual accuracy. But your point is well made.
Thank you.
On that basis, do you wish to approve the minutes?
No.
I wasn't here, so I haven't got a clue.
On that, Mr. Chairman, I will not approve them.
So are we not approving the minutes? Okay, I will move that the minutes are approved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Clark. Those in favour of approving the minutes, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against? 1. Abstentions? I wasn't here, so it's 3 of us. Okay, the minutes are approved. Just sign them as well. And finally, the minutes of the planning working group on the 22nd of February 2024. So for the great number of people who were there, do we take these as a correct record? Sorry, I've got to do declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? No. Okay. Right, back to the planning working group. It's been proposed by Councillor Clark. Those who are there, are we happy with our correct minutes? Agreed. Okay. Oops. Right. Simon, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following on from your comments at the meeting when the site meeting was proposed, I understand that work can take preference, but we are given a certain amount of days off by law to attend council meetings, site meetings, whatever it might be, and that's what our expenses are paid to us for. So again, I was disappointed, Mr. Chairman, that out of the 12 people that actually approved the site visit, there was only, I think, 5 or maybe 6 people there.
Indeed, and it was a very useful and informative site visit, but there we go. Item 6, deferred item 1, 23/500/878/REM, land south of Dunlin Walk. Can I ask the planning officer to provide a summary and update on the application, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application was initially reported to the Planning Committee on the 11th of January 2024, and the committee resolved to defer the application to secure revised details of tree screen into the school grounds, lowering of the roof levels of the 2.5-storey houses and improvements to the design of the houses, in particular to provide more interesting elevational treatments. The design quality of the 2 affordable houses was identified as a particular opportunity for securing improvements. Just a recap on the site, it's a 0.65 hectare rectangular shaped application site located to the south of Dunlin Walk, which is a shared footway and cycleway. It's a relatively flat piece of open grassland with some boundary vegetation, accessed via Sandling Way between properties numbers 4 and 5. Dunlin Walk, and there's just the photographs of the site that we saw at the last meeting. Outline planning permission was for the erection of 20 dwelling. Sorry. The applicant has updated the reserve matters submission in response to the planning committee deferral as follows. A revised detailed planting plan indicating semi-mature tree planting. House type DW1 has been revised to feature a half-hipped roof and been reduced in height by 0.55 of a metre with a revised porch. House type DW2 has been amended to feature a full-hipped roof reduced in height by 0.69 of a metre with a revised door and porch and a revised window arrangement. So what you can see there is the previously proposed house types DW1 and 2, and this is the revised house type DW1 and DW2. There's just one DW2 house type proposed this time with the hipped roof there. House type DW3 has been amended to feature a revised half-hipped roof and crown roofs, both reduced in height by 0.59 of a metre, revised porch, revised dormer windows and revised door and window arrangement. This is the previously proposed DW3 type 1 and 2, and this is the currently proposed house type DW3 1 and 2. House type DW4 has been amended to feature a reorientated roof reduced in height by 0.21 of a metre with weatherboarding. House type DW5 has been amended to feature a half-hipped roof reduced in height by 0.55 of a metre and weatherboarding. This is the previously proposed DW4 and DW5 house types, and this is the currently proposed DW4 and DW5. So the DW4 with the reorientated roof is that's a particular reduction in the appearance of bulk on the street scene, and this is the second type DW5. So you've got one with the weatherboarding and one with the masonry elevational treatment. House type DWAF1, which is the affordable house type, has been amended to feature a half-hipped roof reduced in height by 0.59 of a metre, weatherboarding and a revised porch. House type DWAF2 has been amended to feature a reorientated roof reduced in height by 0.59 of a metre, again weatherboarding and a revised porch. So this is the previously proposed affordable housing, and this is the currently proposed affordable housing. And then the applicant has provided a revised illustrative street scene here, and the applicant has also provided a comparative plan showing the full street scene before and after. It's considered that the proposed revisions to the elevational treatment of the houses represent an improved standard of design and provide added interest to the street scene. Furthermore, the amendments to the roof designs and arrangements significantly reduce the bulk and massing of the development on the street scene and provide an improved appearance. The applicant has submitted a revised landscaping plan indicating that the proposed tree planting for the boundary screen into the school grounds will now comprise semi-mature trees with a girth of 18 to 25 centimetres and a height of 4.5 to 5.5 metres. The proposed trees are expected to reach a height of 6.75 to 7.75 metres after 5 years. And the planting involves more mature specimens than the heavy standard requested by the planning committee and the previously proposed tree planting. It is considered that these revised details will ensure that an effective tree screen to the school grounds will be established sooner and will address concerns regarding overlooking of the school grounds. The discussion at the 11th of January Planning Committee involved a query regarding the parcels of land included within the application. The outline application had included a second site comprising an open area land identified for ecological mitigation to the rear of the Woolpack Public House, whereas this was not included within the Reserve Matters application. Officers confirmed that the ecological mitigation works on the second site would be secured under pre-commencement condition number 15, which was attached by the outline consent. The applicant has provided further assurance that the ecological mitigation works can be secured in the form of evidence that the ecological mitigation land is now in the ownership of the current applicant. It is considered that the proposed revisions satisfactorily address the design and landscaping concerns identified by members at the 11th of January Planning Committee. The details of reserved matters for 20 residential dwellings are considered to align with the development parameters established by the original outline planning consent. Furthermore, the reserved matters planning application is in accordance with national and local planning guidance in respect of matters associated with access, layout, scale, landscaping and appearance. As such, the proposals are considered acceptable and it is recommended that the reserved matters application be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for those who may not have been here previously, this site already has outline permission. It is whether or not the proposals we feel are suitable. The last meeting in January, we felt that the design was somewhat lacking and there were concerns about the tree coverage which have been addressed as per what is in front of you. So that's what we're discussing now. I think it does reflect well that as a result of the committee there have been clear improvements made, but whether or not that's enough for the committee is entirely up to you. Councillor Hunt.
Thanks. Yeah, I think what we said there about the committee just goes to show what we can do, and I think that's one of the good things with us. We can do these things and send them back and get improvements. So I think what's been done is much better. I think that where you had the street scene from before and after on the screen there a minute ago just really shows, I think, the difference that makes. It's only really just cutting down some roofs and putting a few more different shapes and bits and pieces on there, but looking at it, when I looked at it online, the materials and everything that's been used is more in keeping with what's there opposite as well. And I think it is much better looking development. I'd probably just maybe go back, hopefully to officers, to if anyone ever comes forward with anything like the ones above, please just try and change it before we get to committee, because it's quite a simple thing to really push these developers to make something better, and that they do generally do it. So hopefully we can get something better coming forward in the future. It's good having the trees there as well, and I think thanks to the developer for listening, and he's gone back and done everything we've asked. So I see no reason why it should be refused now.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I just wondered if I could have up the plan view, just so I've got an indication. Is that facing south or north? Oh, okay, so the buildings in effect face out north, don't they? Okay. I just wondered, because unfortunately with amending the roof lines, is there anything we can put in regarding solar on the south elevation, as it's perfectly placed for solar? Is there something we can, especially after listening to the last information we had about code of build, that sort of thing, around sustainability?
Simon?
Yeah, we could certainly attach a condition requiring some details of renewable energy proposals that can be approved by officers as part of the revised energy strategy.
Yeah, it'd be great, because it's not often you get an opportunity where they're all.
Did you want to come back, Councillor Thompson?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's just not often that you get the opportunity that they're facing due south, the whole roof elevations. So it would just be good to have some sort of solar gain, if not, PV wise.
Do you want to propose that condition then?
If possible, yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. Anybody want a second? Councillor Watson. All those in favour of that? Yep, that's carried unanimously. Any more, Councillor Thompson? No. Lovely. Councillor Winkles.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm also very pleased to hear that the developer went back and listened to our concerns on the January meeting. It's refreshing that they have made quite a few modifications to the height, as has been spelt out, and the tree line. So I have no reason to go against the officer now on this. Thank you.
Yeah, better move the officer's recommendation. Go as seconder. Thank you, Councillor Booth. Anybody else wish to continue discussing this? In that case, those in favour of the officer's recommendation, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 15. That's carried. Thank you. Was that just me, or did it get darker? Okay, next item, 7.2.122/504863 full, Plum Pudding Lane and High Street Road, Herne Hill. Can we have a summary and update from the planning officer, please? Oh, that's what it does it? Let's see.
Thank you, Chairman. This item relates to a site beside the Thanet Way, bounded by High Street Road and Plum Pudding Lane. Full planning permission sought for 3 commercial units on the site, totalling 4,043 square metres of floor space in all, and they're proposed to be used within Use Class C, and just as a reminder, that includes office space, research and development, and light industrial processes. In addition, permission is also sought for Use Class B8, which includes storage and distribution. This is an aerial of the site, which is to the left of the A299. High Street Road and Plum Pudding Lane also surround the site. It's an aerial view of the site looking towards the exit from the A299 in the foreground, joining onto High Street Road. And the site is the grassed area in the in the middle of the shot. It's an aerial looking the other way. What you can see in the foreground is Plum Pudding Lane, bordering the site, running up to High Street Road, and you can see the Thanet Way and the exit from the Thanet Way onto High Street Road. Just draw members' attention that there is a petrol station further along, as well as a Travelodge hotel. On the other side of the Thanet Way, you've got a further petrol station, as well as food and beverage outlets. Immediately to the right of the Thanet Way, and again this is to do with the slip roads going on and off of the motorway, is another site which, again, like this current site, it's surrounded by slip roads, and that's currently under development for commercial buildings. This slide shows to the right-hand side the red line site, and to the left-hand side is the proposed site layout. So the site encloses 4 plots, and the access to the site is from High Street Road. To the left of the access is plot 1, and that would accommodate a 2-storey building. To the right of the access is plot 2, and again that's a 2-storey building proposed there. In the bordering Plum Pudding Lane and the A299 is plot 3, is sort of the bottom left-hand corner of the site, and again that's a 2-storey building. To the right of that is an open plot, plot 4, and there's not a building proposed on that. Its use would be for storage and distribution. This slide shows elevations of the building proposed on plot 1. And this is the elevations of the building proposed on plot 2, and elevations of the building proposed on plot 3. This is a computer-generated image looking from High Street Road into the access to the site. You can see on the right-hand side of the image, in the foreground would be the building on plot 1. Behind that is the building proposed on plot 3. And to the left you can see the building which is proposed on plot 2. Chair, just by way of update, since the report was published, we've received 2 letters of support from businesses that would be interested in taking space at the site if the application were to be approved and the buildings built. The letters highlight demand for commercial floor space that's proposed. They cite benefits of the site in terms of access to the motorway. They state that the location would make it easier to attract staff, and the nearby services like the petrol station make the site convenient. For the companies in question, locating at the site would reduce travel times and provide sustainability benefits. In addition, Chair, today the Environmental Health Officer commented again to advise that they had no objection subject to the conditions that they've already recommended and are set out in the report. So in terms of key issues, the site's not within the designated built-up area. However, the Council's Employment Land Review identified a need for 45 hectares of additional industrial land, and this can't be found within the designated settlement boundary, which is a scenario where the tilted balance is engaged. It's only if the adverse impacts of approving the scheme would significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits that planning permission should be refused. The proposal would bring forward employment space and associated jobs and economic growth. While some agricultural land would be displaced, it's not best and most versatile land, and the site's modest in size and something of an island surrounded by roads. Existing landscaping would be retained, and additional landscaping is proposed, which would help screen the development in the longer term. The context is also relevant, which in this case includes service stations, hotel, food and beverage outlets, other storage and distribution developments, and the A29 Thanet Way. No objections are raised to the proposal in terms of design. KCC Highways is satisfied with the proposal in terms of highway safety, manoeuvring within the site, and parking. The scheme proposes 119 car parking spaces, which reflects the likely mix of uses at the site, and the level of provision has been agreed by KCC Highways. KCC require that the open storage site, Plot 4, be restricted to storage and distribution use, and subject to this, they're satisfied with the parking provision and highway impacts. A conditions proposed to limit the use of that plot. Chair, on the left-hand side, you'll see an image and you notice that outside the site are yellow lines. Those are weighting restrictions which are proposed along High Street Road and Plum Pudding Lane. The right-hand image, Chair, you notice that there is also a yellow line beyond the site which represents a proposed footpath that leads from the site down to where Plum Pudding Lane ironically joins another road called Plum Pudding Lane. If I just move my cursor to show you, in that location there, Chair, where my cursor is, if I can get I can't get the red dot to move, but what is proposed is to create an additional bus stop. So the footpath and the bus stop would be funded by the developer and built to required specifications for KCC. And the bus provider, which is Stagecoach, and KCC Highways advise that they are in agreement with the proposal for the footpath and an additional bus stop, subject to it being funded and delivered by the applicant to the requisite standards. Planning obligations are necessary to secure biodiversity enhancements and highway matters. Thank you, Chairman. Subject to the conditions and planning obligations set out in the report, approval is recommended.
Thank you. Can you confirm that the footpath and the bus is conditioned?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it'll be secured in the Section 106 legal agreement.
Okay. Can I ask Josh Wilson, the applicant, to come down and speak? Come down here. You'll get 3 minutes and you'll have a little warning that tells you you've got 30 seconds left.
Chair, councillors, thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. The scheme in front of you today will see the creation of 120 full-time or equivalent jobs on an island parcel of substandard 3B land, surrounded on 3 sides by other employment uses. The Council have previously supported commercial development in this location, recognising it as a sustainable location benefiting from excellent on-off access onto the A299 in both directions, and the utilisation of the existing transport infrastructure will mean the vast majority of traffic, commercial traffic, accessing the sites will not have to pass through any residential areas. To be clear, there's categorically demand for bigger industrial units in this area. The 3 largest units built on the Joseph Wilson estate in Whitstable last year were all sold off plan, and one company in particular, Mattress Next Day, have already filled 39,000 square foot of space to such an extent that they've inquired about this project. Additional expressions of interest have been submitted within the last week from Highway Services Limited and the Change organisation, both of which are large local companies desperately requiring this kind of space, particularly units with ancillary yard as shown with plot 4. This has been recognised with the support given by the Council's own economic development team for the proposal. This scheme is not designed to compete with the smaller units being built on the other side of the road, and we must stress we believe these are too expensive and not comparable. KCC Highways have made clear in their response to this application that the access to the site has been properly designed with adequate parking provision, and there are no existing safety concerns that would be exacerbated by this proposal. We are proposing to create a new bus stop on Plum Pudding Lane, which will be served by the existing 638 service, which operates during normal working hours. This will improve the sustainability of not just our site, but the new 40 units being built on the site opposite, the Young's Transport business, and the entire Waterroom Business Park, which currently has no public transport links. All the units are proposed to utilise solar panel technology, have EV charging points, and be built to a BREEAM Very Good standard. In addition to the proposed biodiversity enhancements made as part of this development, which include bat boxes, tree planting, hedgerow creation, and bee bricks, this proposal is one of the first in the Swale Borough to propose a 20% biodiversity net gain in line with the Council's emerging policy using land off-site. This has been made possible with the collaboration of the Kent Wildlife Trust and their proposals for the land at Leveland near Badlesmere, which is located just 6 miles from Plum Pudding Lane. Councillors, the proposal in front of you today represents the opportunity for the Council to generate thousands in business rate income, significant job creation, and ultimately attract more businesses to move to the Swale Borough. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Booth. Seconded. Councillor Watson.
No, sorry, I seconded.
Oh, right. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Chairman. You'll know what I'm going to say to start with. It's really disappointing, Mr. Chairman, given the financial resources of this council, that we sit here discussing an item this evening purely because the ward member has called it in, and the ward member has not shown himself this evening to make comments.
He's no longer a ward member, Councillor Booth.
Okay, well, even so, Councillor Valentine respectfully should have attended to give the reasons why it's sitting before us this evening. Respectful to Herne Hill Parish Council, who have issued their comments within the documentation. So yeah, we could have avoided a lot of time this evening. I applaud the speaker, Mr. Josh Wilson, who amply gives support and weight to the application. And I think, given everything that we've heard and everything that is contained within those 30 odd pages, Mr. Chairman, I see no reasons for anyone to refuse. Not that we're looking to refuse. The only comment I would make is Mr. Wilson referred to the BREEAM rating of very good, and I would endorse that totally, and insist that the officers adhere to that, bearing in mind once the construction starts there will probably be increased costs on the base build, so just something to be wary of. But apart from that, Chairman, I've got no issue at all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Does seem to be surrounded by solar panels as well. Councillor Winkles.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm also in favour of going along with this because it's clearly good road access into the proposed site. It's an area east of Faversham and west of Canterbury which really do need more jobs down there. There may be limited amount of employment, but any employment is welcome in the retail industry, etc. So I can't see we've got any grounds to turn it down, so I should be along with the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, just again, I wondered if I could just see the orientation of the plan to see which way is south again.
Straight up is north.
So again, I'd point out that they're really badly orientated, especially for Briam, very good. If they are all facing, if they were orientated east-west with a south elevation and then don't have a central pitch, you'll get a lot more solar gain. Just to let you know, they're all glass houses that you saw in the picture, not solar panels. So orientation-wise, not so good. The one down in the bottom corner should be where the storage is, because that's below, so it's in a shaded zone. So in winter, it won't get a lot of solar gain at all, because it's got the run down from the overpass. So I think with a better plan and a better design, I'd agree. I think it's not a bad spot, but bearing in mind we are going to lose some open green space, having offset biodiversity is something that I think is a false, and it should be something that's looked at on site. Where's the rainwater storage for what comes from the roofs rather than it being sent off? Is it going to be underneath? Again, it could be used as a sort of an open pool area, which again would give biodiversity net gain on site, which would be quite good. But for me, the main thing is that obviously, I don't even know the history of the site. Previously, they put in for a fast food outlet, which we were very concerned about because it created a lot of litter, a lot of travel to and from the site. So therefore, we weren't keen. So we want to make sure that that isn't morphed into something like that. So probably a condition on use. But for me, the orientation is just really, really poor. So again, that could be looked at in a much better way. The car parking, again, could be solar. Because otherwise you're just going to be a very high consumption site in a rural zone. So most people all travel by car. Most people will be coming from Whitstable or Faversham. So we have to be careful to look at that and try and get some gain from the actual building design to offset, these footprints of pollution that we're going to get from people travelling. So I think a redesign would be good in my eyes. I couldn't vote for that as it is now.
Can we just have a comment on a condition preventing fast food outlets?
Yes, Chair. So two things here. What we're talking about is plot 4 and the potential, could that at some point, we see a fresh application to put a fast food restaurant in there. So at the moment, KCC, for highway reasons, restrict the use of that area, plot 4, to storage and distribution, and there's a condition recommended to limit it to B8. So if, for example, there was a desire to put a fast food restaurant in there at some point in the future, that would require planning permission, and it would need to come back in and go right through the process, consultation, potentially go to committee and so forth. And there are concerns in this location with fast food outlets from a highways and other perspectives. But so they cannot do that under this consent. They'll need to reapply, and it would have to go right the way back through the planning regime. And obviously we would assess it on its merits at that time.
Councillor Golding.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The A299, that's a road I use on a regular basis commuting to Margate. It's not a great road. It's a dangerous road. It's a dual carriageway. I just wanted to understand the traffic that would be leaving that site if they would be using the existing slip road, and is there any position for that slip road to be extended? Thank you, Chair.
Matt?
The slip road round the site is an exit, and then to get back on, you then go around Plum Pudding Lane, and then so the traffic modelling shows that most of this traffic will be exiting from the Thanet Way and entering onto the Thanet Way. That's the advantage of the site, is its proximity to the Thanet Way. So first of all, the Highway Authority looked at the exit from the Thanet Way and did an evaluation to make sure that it passed the requisite tests to make sure that it was safe in the existing situation, and it is. They then did another test to look at the sight lines, because the entrance to the site's not so close to the exit from the slip road, but relatively close. So they wanted to be sure that existing vehicles, and then with traffic growth, and then with the development, that actually you wouldn't have people entering the site or leaving the site colliding with other vehicles on High Street Road. And modifications were required to the sight lines at the entrance to the site, which have been made, such that from a highway safety perspective, KCC are satisfied that there isn't a danger from vehicles that might be exiting or coming from the gas station or exiting from the Thanet Way, then colliding with vehicles entering or leaving the site. Then further analysis was done in terms of where the traffic is likely to go, and that's where they think the bulk of it would be traffic leaving the A299 and then getting back onto the A299. Rather than going further down High Street Road or anywhere else. And looking at the modelling, there isn't an objection based on the expected deliveries and servicing to the site, for example, for storage and distribution, as well as workers at the site that would be going there and parking. Yet there isn't a concern in terms of junction capacity or the capacity of the highway to cope with the traffic that would be generated from this use.
Can I come back to you?
Yep. Councillor Golding.
Thank you. So, yeah, just to confirm then, and possible clarification on my part, and apologies if I didn't fully understand it. So, the exit onto the 299 going towards Margate at the moment is parallel with the Travel Lodge, Starbucks. That's the exit that the traffic will be using.
Yes, that's right. So as you come off, you can either go forward to the petrol station, or you can sort of do a bit more of a hard left, and it's the hard left that, I guess, practically speaking though, if you were going to work at this site and you needed to fill up with petrol, you would just carry on, use the gas station, and then sort of double back. So, but I would have thought, for the most part, people would be using that left exit. Although you notice from the letters of support, one of the reasons that people are wanting to locate here is that they might be able to actually go and get lunch, or if they had a business use that required overnight stay, they could go up to the Travel Lodge, for example. I mean, that petrol station has actually got quite a good offer in terms of things for sale, like food and beverages and so forth within the shop. So I can imagine that when you come off the Thanet Way, you might actually go up and grab your lunch and then go to work or whatever. So, but KCC, the lion's share of the modelling is coming off the Thanet Way and then going into the site. But logically, people would from time to time do that.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chair. Could we have the officer put the aerial view back up, please, so we can... Yep, that's it. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get to grips. I do know this area relatively well, but I'm just trying to get to grips. So vehicles will come, obviously going down the Thanet Way, they'll come off on this first piece of road at the bottom of the screen.
Sorry, Councillor. So if you come along the Thanet Way, you then pull off, I guess you're towards the northern end of the site, closer to the petrol station.
Right. Yep.
And then you come around, and then the entrance to the site is around about here. And then if you want to get back onto the Thanet Way heading in the other direction, you then go around. So this is High Street Road, that then if you turn off High Street Road, you're then onto Plum Pudding Lane. It goes over a flyover, and you go through another slip road. You end up coming onto the Thanet Way again here. So if you were wanting to go in this direction on the Thanet Way from the site, you would exit the site, and then you'd need to make your way up past the petrol station, and there are entrance roads, slip roads that go back onto the Thanet Way. So you can get off the Thanet Way or go back onto the Thanet Way heading in the same direction, or use the slip road, go over the flyover and get on the other way. So I do take the point, it's not badly placed if you want to use the Thanet Way in either direction.
Okay. Yep, Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Yeah, that's clarified a couple of points actually, because I was concerned about the actual on and off ramps, especially the on ramp, if you're going Margate bound down past the petrol station, not so much for cars and small vehicles, but for heavy goods vehicles that might come out of that site fully loaded. But yeah, that gives me some comfort that they've got to go through the back of the petrol station and then on to the Thanet Way past the travel lodge. Okay, thank you.
Okay then, Councillor Thompson.
It's just a follow up that Priam actually very good is average. It's 55% of 100%. So there's another 2 above that. So bear that in mind that when someone says it's very good, it isn't actually very good. So it's worth looking at. I feel that go back to the drawing board, come up with a really good plan that we can justify having something in a rural environment. I get off the Thanet Way, makes total sense. It's sensible for the industrial side of things and larger transport, but for the footprint of people getting to and from it, I think we've got a good opportunity to get them to build something good rather than just average, really.
Okay, so to push for that, you would need people to reject this and ask for effectively to defer it to see if improvements could be made. Yeah, Kerry.
Thank you, Chair. So just to point out from a policy perspective, the policy in the local plan is very good, and there is a condition imposed upon the condition requiring it to meet that standard. To go above and beyond that is really a push, because where we are, it is meeting the local plan requirements and the NPPF. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, we have pushed...
No, Councillor Hall.
Thank you. The road that goes behind the petrol station, is that for two-way traffic? Is it wide enough for a lorry coming either way?
Matt?
Or is it one way?
I can't recall. I'd need to look at that, Councillor. I could look at Google Earth and
yeah, in my recollection, I've not been up there for a number of years, but it's a very narrow road.
Can you also address Councillor Thompson's points? Whilst you're doing that, Councillor Golding.
Yeah, thank you. The aerial photograph that's been taken down, again, that's a petrol station I use and quite often go there to get a cup of coffee from Greg's. That road, if that's where vehicles are going to exit to go Margate direction to Thanet, is probably only, well, it is one way, but if they're going to, unless the design layout's going to be changed as you then go past the petrol station and the Greggs, where the fast food, well, where the grocery shop is, there's parking there currently, and then you're going to go, instead of going left into the travel lodge, you're going to go onto the slip road. Yeah, it's just a general observation. It's not, my personal view, but it's not designed for heavy traffic. Thank you, Chair.
It strikes me as well, you wouldn't actually be able to stop people just coming out of High Street Road and going onto a 299.
Chair, so if you're coming from the Thanet Way and you're exiting, then you go onto a slip road and you can then go through High Street Road to the site, or you could go up to the petrol station if that's what you wanted to do. If you've been to the petrol station, you're right, there is then a small road which would take you back down to High Street Road. And if you were travelling on High Street Road and you wanted to get to the Thanet Way, you would then approach essentially the slip road which leads to the petrol station, and then you would need to travel past the travel lodge before you get into a lane which allows you to merge onto the Thanet Way. So I take your point, Councillor Clark, that in actual fact, you wouldn't use the thin lane which runs behind the petrol station. What you would do is you would join essentially the slip road which runs past the petrol station and the travel lodge, and then leads you to join the A299 again. So I guess it's a parallel set of highway works that allow you to either exit the A299, visit the travel lodge and so forth, and then pick up speed and join the Thanet Way again. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
I think I can see that there isn't as big a concern, isn't it, if it was coming out onto the Thanet Way there with the high speeds and things. But I can see that whilst KCC have said it's all acceptable, as cars come off of that slip road down to the garage, they could still be doing 60 along that stretch of road there. And with lorries pulling straight out of that junction, I can see a bit of a concern that's on there. I'll say why we've got no reason to refuse it on those grounds, but I do wonder whether it should be that there's a reduction in the speed limit on that section of road, and whether it's we include a TRO on it for that to be looked at. Then if KCC then after that say it's not needed, there's nothing we can do. But putting in place a TRO within there saying that the speed limit should be reduced on that section due to safety may be something that could be looked at.
Could we do that, Matt?
Just to highlight, National Highways are involved as well because the A299's a motorway. It's actually quite complicated in terms of understanding vehicle speeds and what's allowed and what's not allowed. I wouldn't be so bold as to say that we could introduce a TRO. It would require the agreement of KCC and National Highways, and that they have looked and modelled and commented on the application and advised that it's acceptable.
Councillor Booth.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I wasn't going to come back. We are here to look at the application for 4,043 square metres of commercial floor space, not the random access and egress from a site of people that we don't know and we're not going to know their vehicle movements of. As the officer has said, it's a National Highways issue and KCC Highways issue. And according to the documentation that I've got, they have no concerns. Thank you.
Councillor Clark. Sorry, Councillor Thompson, then Councillor Clark.
It was only going back to the reasons for reorientating. Would it be that where it's outside of the built-up area, so we're using an agricultural area, is that not a good enough reason to try and gain as little footprint as possible in orientation and design?
Kerry?
Thank you, Chair. I think the issue where we are at the moment in terms of securing some of these additional sustainability measures is the policy framework within which we are working. Like I said, the policy requirement is very good, and that's the policy that needs to be applied in this instance. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with what Councillor Booth is saying about the we're here to decide on the actual units themselves, and Councillor Hunt in a way has already said part of what I'm thinking after the re-explanation from the officer. I would support the units and the employment land, but drawing on 35 years experience as a HGV driver, I know it's not the highways haven't put an argument up, but I would suggest that the highways officers need to take a long, hard look at themselves, because as Councillor Hunt said, you got cars coming off of the slip road there at 60, 70 plus miles an hour. You've got a fully freighted 44 tonner coming out of there. It's going to take them until way past the petrol station to even accelerate to 30 miles an hour. And that is an absolute recipe for disaster. So I don't know which way I'm going to go on this, but I think I'd like it put on record that the office, the KCC and the Highways England, or whatever they call themselves now, they really, really, really need to take a long, hard look at these junctions when they come to making no comment or, you know, whatever their comment might be, because that is a death waiting to happen. And I guarantee within 6 months of that being opened, there will be at least 2-3 serious accidents and possibly a death.
Okay, Councillor Golding.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Regarding KCC Highways report, there's talk about a TRO for the introduction of weighting restrictions around and in the vicinity of the site. I just wondered if I could, if that could be illustrated on the aerial picture. And picking up again what Councillor Hunt said, I don't disagree. In fact, I concur with what he said. Again, people park vehicles. Lorry drivers park their vehicles. They're not getting fuel, but they want to pop into Greggs, and they park on the slip road that runs parallel to the petrol station. So again, if you're going into the petrol station, you've got to go around those vehicles to go into the petrol station. So I just wondered if there's any proposals to prevent parking. Thank you, Chair.
Matt, is that within the remit?
So we wouldn't be able to prevent parking in the petrol station and in those areas that you were describing. What KCC have said though, and this is on both sides of High Street Road and just beyond the intersection with Plum Pudding Lane, this is this left-hand drawing in the slide, and the yellow areas are where they're suggesting there should be weighting restrictions, and around the site itself, and then all of the way down Plum Pudding Lane until it joins another armature of Plum Pudding Lane, would have weighting restrictions, and that is primarily to prevent any future occupiers of the site from parking their cars anywhere else other than within the site. The applicants agreed to that. KCC are looking for it, so if the scheme did go forward, they'd be required to enter into the TRO process. But weighting restrictions aren't proposed around the petrol station.
Can I come back, Chair?
That would be beyond this application, but carry on, Councillor.
No, just a question. So no weighting restrictions on it's the road that runs parallel to the station. So if you were exiting to the 299, it's not within the petrol station area. It's the road that runs parallel. So there's no weighting proposals for that area.
The one behind the petrol station, I think.
So no, and KCC haven't identified that as being an existing issue. In terms of a potential future issue being driven by this development, that's where the left-hand drawing in the yellow lines, what they're saying is if this development were to go ahead to prevent future occupiers parking inappropriately, this is the extent of so this diagram showing it has been done in conjunction. So I spoke with the highways officer and I said, where should these weighting restrictions extend to? They indicated where it would need to extend to, and the applicant has agreed to that and drawn this diagram up so it forms part of the application. But this is KCC's diagram made accurate.
I actually wonder if the land road behind the garage is even highway. It might even just be part of the garage.
Chair, yeah, the actual lane or road that I'm referring to is parallel with the A299. It's not the road that's behind the garage. It's the road it's the slip road that's parallel with the 299. So
right. Councillor Martin.
On slip roads, let's face it, you're not going to stop lorry drivers parking on slip roads. You can't stop it on the M2. You're not going to stop it on the A299. Look. The developer has looked at our policies quite clearly. They've looked at the MPPF quite clearly. They've complied with it. The officers have assessed it. There are no objections from highways. There are no objections from statutory consultees. What we have here is a plan that we should just be nodding through, I'm afraid. We're at that stage. So I propose that we go to the vote.
Okay, I'm happy to second that. Are you thirding it, are you, Councillor Marchington? Lovely. Okay, those in favour of the officer's recommendation, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Abstentions? 1, 2. That is carried. Okay, I think we have one appeal decision. If anybody wants to comment on it. Agenda item 8. No? Okay then, thank you all very much. And you next one. Sorry, Councillor Hunt.
Are we not considering the application 83 to 87 London Road?
No.
All right, okay.
Chair, I'm baffled by that.
Because there is no report in the agenda. There is no report of the site visit and the issues that were raised in it. I made it quite clear at the January meeting, when we have site visits, I expect a report. There are people on this committee who weren't at the previous meeting, and there is nothing in this agenda that would tell people what the issues were related to that site. So I don't think it's acceptable to put it before the committee.
Thank you for your explanation.